But I would like to just say that my worry about that, about not having the date in, and I'm very pleased that the date is in, is that actually, maybe unlike a lot of members here, but very much echoing what my honourable friend from Blythe said the other day, I don't really trust the EU, and therefore I have always this worry that if we're not absolutely clear about what we're doing, they, in their own way, manage to move things because they would like to delay and to punish, I still believe, as much as possible, because we made that decision, that brave decision to actually leave something that, when we look at what we're discussing here, we're simply asking to leave the EU. 40 years we have seen the kind of entanglement and the legal procedures that have got into our country, that we're having to go through all this to simply leave what was originally the British people voted for a formal economic agreement. Yes, I give way.
Well, I thank Margaret for giving way, and would she agree with me that if Parliament appears to be dragging its feet about leaving the EU when the people have made a majority decision to do so, the people will get frustrated with Parliament? We have to remember their wishes. That's right.
Yes, and I agree, and I think a lot of people looking in on this, and perhaps one of the good things about the Minister, he's not a lawyer, and that why perhaps he's been able to treat this in a way that actually is quite a lot of common sense, because I'm afraid that the debate has been rather taken over by lawyers, and there is a kind of lawyer speak that is pretty clear. They love this. They love it when it's all so technical. I will give way to once to the honourable member. He's not a lawyer.
I'm certainly not a lawyer. Thank my honourable friend. Would my honourable friend care to explain to the House why she felt unable to support Amendment 7 last week?
Yeah, good question.
Is it possibly because, as well as the EU, that she doesn't trust this House as well?
I certainly trust this House, but I think what was designed by many of the people who were pushing that amendment, and I think we have to be very honest, that they saw this as a way of actually being able to delay before we could get into the detail of getting that agreement. And I very much agreed with the many speakers. I didn't actually get called that day, and I'm not going to go back over Amendment 7, but I will give way to my honourable friend.
Yes, sorry about that, but there you are, got in again. Isn't one of the truths we have to bear in mind, which people on the outside will remember if people wish to deny it inside, that from the very word go, according to the great Guardian record of the European experiment that we've had, that the great fear was we, the British people, could not be told where this journey was taking us, and therefore those of us who actually wanted a date and a time, even a British time, were concerned that large numbers of people throughout our whole history in the European Union have never actually been straight with the British people where this journey was ending.
Yes. Well, I was always very clear from the day I came into this House that I wanted us to get out of the European Union. I'm just delighted that I've lived long enough to see it actually happening. But I will give way to the other one.
Right honourable member has been totally consistent in that year upon year upon year she has opposed EU encroaching on British laws. And, however, there's been not a chirp from some of the members recently who supported Clause 7, Amendment 7, who wanted to oppose European encroachment on our sovereignty, but they were very happy to raise some sort of feigned hope about parliamentary sovereignty here.
I think there's a lot in that, because, you know, when you look through all the no, I won't at the moment. So, David, when you look through all the different regulations and ways which the EU has encroached on our country's rules over the years, with majority voting and us being outvoted occasionally and not being able to do things that we wanted to do, and of course then finding that actually when we did decide that we wanted to leave, it was very clear that the European Union feel that we had no right really to make that decision, and that's why they want to delay and delay and delay. And my worry, no, at the moment I won't. My worry about Clause Amendment 7 was that you know, the EU have done this before with other countries when they voted against something that they didn't want. And I had this worry that the nearer we get to the end, if we do not have an agreement nearer the end, of course it's in the EU's interest to delay and delay and delay. And if they know that this Parliament is just waiting, to actually then allow more time, and then all that time we're paying in more and more money. I mean, I have a problem even. You may think I'm talking absolute nonsense. I think there's 17.5 million people out there who don't think I'm thinking nonsense. So, David, if I could get back to the reason I really wanted to speak today, I want to oppose new clause 13 in the name of my honourable friend, and I want to explain why I think that we must leave the customs union. And I'm very pleased that our front bench, when they responded, made no remarks about us opposing or supporting new clause 13, and I will certainly be opposing new clause 13 tonight. If we stay in the customs union, now, people voted to leave for all sorts of different reasons, but I can see, I don't need to be told by the honourable member what to do. I've been here quite a long time.
Just refuse it.
If we stay in the customs union, then it is very clear that we can't actually cut the kind of free trade deals with 85%, over 80% of the world's economy that will be outside the EU once we've left. And I think that is not what the British people voted for. They voted for different reasons, but all of them, underlining everything, was to get back us being able to make those decisions about what we wanted to do and who we wanted to trade with. Now, the European Union has, well, as he's very kind and a nice member, I will live with.
He's got a big port. Does she not understand, though, the significance of the June election, when many of us went to our electorate and the Prime Minister had called for an improved in her majority? It was reduced. So that was a game changer in many ways. And my constituents, and many of us on this side, increased our majority, including, I think, the honourable member.
He read our manifesto on my side this time because it was actually a very readable manifesto, and it was very clear that we had accepted the result of the British people wanting to leave, and that we were going to leave the customs union and the single market. And for once in my life, on these benches, I'm not the rebel. The rebels are here, sitting on my right. I genuinely cannot understand how progressive people who believe in equality and believe in fairness and justice, can actually support. No, I'm not giving way anymore because a lot of people want to speak. Because the reality is that a customs union is actually penalising countless people in some of the world's poorest countries, preventing them from selling their goods in Europe and helping their countries to develop and to mechanise. And this change, we will be able to make our own decisions about how we treat countries, particularly those countries in the Commonwealth, those millions of people who over the years have shown huge loyalty and dedication to this country, and we actually betrayed them. We betrayed them when we joined the common market. Now, many people in this chamber didn't actually have a say in that, but we did, and I believe now that we have the opportunity to pay back. I think that the 80% of the tariffs paid by UK consumers on imports from outside the EU are then sent to Brussels, with British shoppers having to pay more on a range of imports. And there is so much more that we could do, because the UK is the only large country in the European Union that does more trade beyond the EU than within it. We are disproportionately, disproportionately penalised by the common external tariff. So we are actually suffering from being part of the customs union, or may have helped at a stage. In the future, we have to be looking outwards, we have to be looking globally. And of course we can't sign free trade agreements until we leave. I personally want to see us being able to sign and actually implement them during that implementation period. And let's not forget that everything that is coming out that the EU is saying that we must do during that implementation period, that is all up for negotiation. And that has to be something that we are very clear about, that we want to be able, during those 2 years, to be able to go ahead and do the things that we left the European Union to do. And I do not believe that we should be completely aligning ourselves with every single bit of dot and comma of the European Union legislation. So I just will finish by saying that what has upset me, I think, most in all of this debate, and a lot of it's come from my own side, but from the other side as well, is the kind of negativity about this whole issue, and negativity about our country, that somehow we are such an unimportant small country that by leaving the European Union it is going to kind of destroy us for the rest of our lives and our country's economic future. That is just so wrong. And I just believe that if we had some more optimism, if we look at the EU during its existence, it's shown real contempt for national parliaments and their political activity. It's shown real contempt for the electorates. It's shown real contempt, for example, the forcing of the Greek Prime Minister out of his job, the treatment of Ireland in terms of enforcing huge cuts. The EU does not tolerate political independence and democratic integrity of the modern European nation, and we should know that in this Parliament. And when we talk of parliamentary democracy, let's not forget just how many years we have lived without true parliamentary democracy in this country. So I believe that we should be being optimistic. I don't think we should see, as some people seem to see, some members, maybe even of the government, see it as almost a burden that we've got to sort of, we've got to get through this, and yes, we're leaving, and it's a terrible pity, but we're going to make it work just about. I want us to be optimistic out there saying, this can work, this can be great, we're a great country, let's get on with it, and delighted that we've got through this stage of the committee. Thank you very much.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.